Go to my website, www.boldbossyblessed.com, and use discount code BBB Podcast to get a discount on this week's featured ebook, Supercharged Productivity, where you'll learn how to increase productivity in your life and your business by 20%. Previously on Bold Bossy and Blessed Podcast.
Dealing with anxiety, something that I've dealt with over a long period of my life. And I know it's from some things that happened as I was coming up as a little girl, some things that happened that started the anxiety. There was a time when my daughter called me from school. What I remember was me picking up the phone and it being an emergency call and my daughter needing help and me not being able to get to her and not be able to help her in the way that she needed help. And she ended up being okay. But from then on, when I get calls late at night like that, I automatically think trouble, bad news, accidents. Now my body automatically starts to trigger anxiety-like symptoms because of an experience that I had. I said, you know what? I am going to deal with anxiety. Anxiety will not rule my life.
Welcome to the Bold, Bossy, and Blessed Podcast. I'm your host, Nikisa Green, your conversationalist, where you can join me weekly as I discuss and share parenting, dating, and relationships, one conversation at a time. Now let's get into it.
Yes, let's get into it, y'all. What's up? Hey, everybody. Welcome to the show. I want to thank my listeners that's been following me over the few years. I want to thank my new listeners for following me. My name is Nikisa. My personality type is ENFJ. I am a protagonist. And if you really want to know more about me, go ahead and Google it and see if you want to join me next week for my next episode. Anywho, y'all, because I do have a lot of new listeners, I definitely want to tell you all a little bit more about who I am. So you already know my name. We already got that out the way. But I am a woman that was raised on the west side of Chicago. Y'all already know the west side is the best side. However, I am all things Chicago culture, all things Chicago sports, food, Garrett's popcorn, Portillo's. Y'all already know what it is. So I've been in Texas the last 6 years. And I'm still adjusting to Texas. However, this is home for me now. And, a couple of weeks ago, it was an ice storm in Texas, y'all. Now, when I first moved down here, they told me all I needed was a light jacket. But it was 28 degrees a couple of weeks ago, and we had ice on the ground. So anyway, more about me. I'm a mother. I'm a grandmother. I am a 2-time divorcee. But I am still a hopeful romantic that still believes in love and marriage. And y'all already know, for those that are watching the video, as y'all see on my shirt, I am a believer in God, and he definitely keeps me grounded and keeps me moving every day. So why did I name my podcast Bold, Bossy, and Blessed? Now, I must admit, when I first resolved with this name, I had a little reservations about naming my podcast Bold, Bossy, and Blessed. And that's because some of the negative connotations that comes with the word bold and bossy. Sometimes people can think that when a person is saying that they're bold, or when they see a person being bold, they think aggressive. Now, I'm going to break down today to my audience what my show means when it comes to bold, bossy, and blessed. And we're going to talk about what the word bold is. And then with the word bossy, you already know people think that you're bossing somebody around, or that you're rude, or that you don't treat other human beings like a human. But that's not true either. And funny story in regards to this topic about me having the name Bold, Bossy, and Blessed Podcast. I was chit-chatting with a male the other day online, and you know how you going through somebody's social media because you're trying to see, like, you know, a little bit information about them. And he was like, oh, I see you have a podcast. And I was like, yeah. He said, okay, what made you name your podcast that? And I said, you know what, I'm getting ready to record because I'm getting ready to relaunch my show. I said, but I'll give you a little bit about the reason why I named my show that way. And then when I looked at the intro that my producer did, I was like, the second slide didn't scare you? So the second slide is like in big bold letters with videos of me and my TikTok videos, which you can follow me at Nikisa Green on TikTok. Big bold letters with those videos behind it. I said, that didn't scare you? And he was like, no, but I must admit, when I saw the word bossy, I'm like, what does that mean? Like, is there a deeper meaning to that? Does that mean she boss people around? So he was open to the conversation, and I did explain to him what bossy was. But on today's show, I'm going to let y'all know a little bit more about the word bold and what it means and how it relates to my show as I break down my entire show name, Bold Bossy and Blessed Podcast. So I did a post a couple of weeks ago on my Instagram page at Nikisa Green, and that post was 5 affirmations for a bold woman. And you can go to my Instagram page to go and look at the affirmations and start saying them yourselves. And you can look at the caption. But I did want to share the caption with you today because it basically breaks down what the word bold means and how it relates to you as, you know, of being in your everyday life. So when I think about the word bold, I think about a person that's able to take risks in life. And this doesn't have to be you taking risks in every category of your life. This could be you taking a risk with your career or with your business or with the stocks. Like, it's all different types of ways that you can take a risk. But being a risk taker is definitely being bold. It also means that you push yourself out of your comfort zone. And a lot of people in business or people that are successful know that in order to be successful, you have to get out of your comfort zone. And it's actually in the uncomfortable place that you are able to really see your vision come into light. You able to see what you were thinking about or envisioning. You see it manifest into the physical world. So these ways that I'm describing being bold is a bold person. So as I continue to let you all know what a bold person would do, let's see if you can relate to anything else. So a bold person is not afraid to try something new. Now, I know y'all know some people that haven't left their city in 20 years, let alone they're not even going to, leave the state. They're not going to try any new food. They're not going to try anything that they haven't been doing. But a bold person that tries something new, is considered bold. And like I said, that could be any category. That could be food. That could be going to a new city. That could be getting on a different ride at an amusement park. Those things are considered bold. Those are bold moves. And the other thing I wanted to talk about was when you think about the word bold, a bold person face challenges regardless of what stage that challenge is in. So a bold person, when they wake up in the morning, they're going to wake up and face whatever the day has to offer or whatever the day is going to bring them. So for me, I just wanted to hone in a little bit on this. I can remember days growing up in my 20s and in my 30s. There were days where I had some hard days where I did not want to get out of bed. I did not want to face whatever the challenges was for the day. I just didn't want to do it. But I learned with my relationship with God and having faith in God that when I'm getting up every day and I'm facing the day or facing a new challenge or facing something at work or facing something personal, that I'm facing those challenges with somebody that's bigger than me, and that's God. And I definitely want to share about how David said in the Bible that where can I go and you not be there? Like if I ascend into heaven, you there. If I make my bed in hell, which I'm not, but you're there. So basically saying that you're always there with me. And once I grabbed onto that, I used that to empower me to get up every day, regardless of what I was facing, to just show up. So a bold person is not afraid to face challenges and show up. So I just wanted to make sure you all knew what I meant when I say the word bold, so that you could understand a little bit better about what makes a person bold, and to kind of like get away from the negative connotations when it comes to the word bold. So you don't just have 3 babies and not be bold. So that's me, y'all. I had 3 babies at one time, and that definitely is a bold move. But I want to talk about what bold moves look like. And bold moves could be a bold move in your business or in your career or in traveling to a different state like I did. And that's one of the bold moves I wanted to talk about. So I was working in corporate America. I had been at the job. At that time, it had been about 13 years. And I was at a point where I was ready for something different, something new. I wanted to be promoted. I wanted to see my fruit. And I wanted to see it in the way that I wanted to see it. And I felt like the ceiling was low and that I couldn't move. Like I couldn't go up any higher. So we had some transition happen in the company and some new positions came out. And I started applying to a couple of positions. And while I was applying, I saw a position for an out-of-state job. And I said, okay, let me go ahead and apply to this job out of state, right? I didn't think nothing of it. I was just in that moment frustrated and wanted something different. So I applied. So I ended up getting an interview for all. Now, you don't always get an interview for every position that you apply for. So I got a position for the in-state job, ended up not getting that position. I was very disappointed. And then I had 2 phone interviews for the job outside of the state. And I'm like, okay, I hadn't heard anything back. So I was waiting. You know how it is when you're waiting. So I was waiting. And then I said, well, let me call the recruiter and see if they have an answer. So I called the recruiter and was like, hey, I had 2 phone interviews. I hadn't heard anything back. I just want to know if I had got the position or, what's going on with that. So the recruiter was like, well, you did get the position. We're just waiting to see when your training days would be, but we're working on getting your offer letter emailed to you now. So I hung up the phone and my head is like, all these thoughts is going in my head and my heart is beating extra fast. So I get up and I go tell my friends like, hey, y'all come here, come meet me over here or whatever. Because we do this when we have like big like announcements and stuff, and we'll gather. And I was telling them like, I got the position. And my friends was like, okay, what you gonna do? And I was like, well, I'm gonna take it. But in my head, y'all, I didn't really know if I was going to take it because I didn't have everything planned out. Matter of fact, I didn't have nothing planned out because I didn't think that I was going to get the position. I was just trying to apply because I was frustrated. And so when I got the position, I was like, okay, what now? Now what do I do? Like, what's the next step? And then I found out they wasn't even covering expenses. So none of my expenses, my moving expenses was covered. And I could have been like, okay, you know what? I'm not going to take the position because that was an obstacle that I wasn't prepared for. And then the next thing that happened was they was like, we're not going to pay for your moving expenses, and training begins in 3 weeks. So it was at the end of the month. And I'm like, 3 weeks? I'm going to pack up, move to Texas in 3 weeks with no plan, y'all. I didn't know nothing. I didn't have a plan. So after that, I'm like, okay, I could have been like, okay, you know what, God, I'm just going to stay right here up in Illinois and just keep on doing what I've been doing. But I was like, no, I am going to work this out. I'm going to work through this. So the next week I was going on my first cruise, and it was at that cruise that I received confirmation about what I should do. Now, this is my first cruise, and as I get to Florida, I was going with one of my BFFs, and she was going with her team for a business that she was in. So I was going with them, and I'm walking down the walkway to get to the ship, and it's like all glass, right? So I'm looking out the window as I'm walking, and I'm slow walking, like, am I really about to get on this ship, or am I going to turn around and be like, you know what, I can't do this because I'm too scared to do this, right? So I'm walking and I'm scared. My heart is beating real fast, especially as I'm coming up on the ship. Like, it's huge, like humongous, right? So as I'm walking, all these things are going inside of my head. And I'm just like trying to like, okay, it's cool. All you gotta do is get on this ship. You know, you got your friend with you, you know, you good. Get on the ship. And I look around and I'm like, this feels like, you know, I'm in Las Vegas or something. So me and my friend, we get on the elevator, and I'm just like, an elevator on a ship, on the cruise. This is my first cruise. And once that happened, everything settled. All my emotions settled, all the different negative things that was going on in my head, the uncomfortableness, all of that settled. These are bold moves. So I'm trying to give you all the picture of what bold moves look like and what I mean by bold, bossy, and blessed. So back to the job. So I get on the cruise, and one of the nights I'm at the club inside the cruise, and I'm with some team members from my friend's business, and we was chit-chatting. I was letting them know, you know, I have to make a big decision about moving out of state without a plan. And we talked through that. And they was like, well, what are the reasons why you have some reservations? I said, well, number one, one of my triplets is pregnant. This is her first baby. This is my first grandchild. I love kids. I want to be present for the pregnancy, and I want to be present for my grandchild. And as we were talking, I was also thinking about the fact that I had triplets at 17. And then when me and their father got married, how we moved to the other side of the world, to a city 20 minutes away from Seattle, Washington. And I was thinking about how I moved to that city with no parents, no family, no friends, no anybody. And that gave me the space to start maturing and learning from experience how to handle motherhood and being a wife and different things like that. And so I'm like, well, I have to allow my daughter to go through the same experiences. I said, the same way that God was with me, he's going to be with her. So it was on that cruise that I was like, okay, I'm going to do it. So I get back home, and I have this meeting with my immediate family and a few of my aunties. And I let them know, like, hey, I have a big announcement to make. And they probably was like, you know, like, what? Because, you know, sometimes we come up with, you know, so-called crazy things that we do. So they was like, okay, what? I said, I'm moving out of state, and I'm moving to Texas. And they were like, okay, but then they wanted to know the plan. And I was like, well, my best friend lives there, and she's able to give me some guidance. So this is what I'm going to do. And when I say that everything started lining up, so this is also talking about a faith walk. This is also talking about being obedient or allowing yourself to trust God with a move or a decision, and then walking it through, even when you can't see the end result, or even though you can't see the middle. And I am one of those people that I need to see the details. I need to know every step. I need to know every which way something is going to go before I move on it sometimes. But the boldness in me was like, I have to do this. I had never been on a road trip by myself. I had never driven more than 5 hours. And that was only because my daughters went to college in Southern. So it was like 5 hours away from Chicago. So I used to drive up there. So I didn't have all the pieces, y'all, but I knew that this is something that I had to do. So I meet with my family before I left again to say my goodbyes. And I had one family member was like, I'll give you a year and then you'll be back in Illinois. I don't see you moving out there and staying out there. And I'm like, okay, thank you. So I left around like 3 something on a Saturday, drove to my daughter's college and spent the night there. Got up the next morning at 2 a.m. And when I tell you it was pitch black, dark, I'm on the road alone, packed my car up, left my youngest daughter there because I was like, okay, I'm going to come back and get her. Let me see if she can finish the school year out, which she didn't end up finish the school year out. So we'll talk about that in another episode as well. But I get on the road and it's pitch dark and it's scary. I'm scared. I'm afraid. Of course, I'm praying. I'm talking to God. I'm playing my gospel CDs, and I am just driving. I had no idea how or if I was going to get to Texas safely, as I'm going through these different states, if my car was going to break down, if I was going to get a flat tire or something was going to happen to me being a woman and then a Black woman on the road. It was very scary. But this goes back to making bold moves. Here we are, 6 years later, y'all, that I have been living in Texas. Now, I will say Texas does not have Chicago food. However, they are making their way. We just got a Portillo's here at the beginning of January. So I have some comfort food from Chicago here. And then we have some other restaurants that are Chicago based. So I just wanted to show you all what bold looks like. And when you hear the word bold, now you can think of, well, wait a minute. I've made bold moves in my life too. Like I remember when X, Y, and Z happened and I did X, Y, and Z. And I just want to let you all know that it's okay to be bold. And I want you all to make sure you join me next week so we could talk about what blessed and what bossy looks like. And I know you definitely want to hear more about what bossy looks like. So until then.
Thank you for listening to another episode of Bold, Bossy, and Blessed Podcast. Make sure you're following me on all social media platforms at Nikisa Green, and make sure you subscribe to this podcast as well. Until next time, be bold, make bossy moves, and stay blessed. Go to my website, www.boldbossyblessed.com, and use discount code BBB Podcast to get a discount on this week's featured ebook, Supercharge Productivity, where you'll learn how to increase productivity in your life and your business by 20%.